guys, when you start researching, you'll probably start out on Google in general, and that's a great place to get some general information about whatever your topic is. You'll probably end up finding some sites like maybe Lifehacker or Mental Floss, some of those summary style sources that bring you quotes and references to studies and articles other people have written. That's an okay place to start, just to get some background on your topic and to understand what direction you want to go. It might help you narrow your topic a little bit further. It's also a great place to run into keywords. So keywords are terms that are often used by researchers or by individuals in a particular field who are dealing with your topic all the time. And they have developed certain terms or phrases to refer to something. And if they just kind of use that in everyday speech, a lot of readers aren't going to pick up on what that means. They probably will not understand it. They won't have any idea of the context of that information. But those words are going to be very helpful to you, because as you stumble across them in your articles, if you write them down, when you get into your more in-depth articles, your research-based studies, articles from other professionals or experts in the field, when you stumble across those terms, you're more likely to know what they mean, because when they show up in those summary articles, somebody usually explains them. So you can jot that definition down, or by the context of the article or the context of how the word is used, you can usually figure out what that means. So if you keep it in a glossary, in a journal, something like that, when you run into it in your later research, it will probably make a lot more sense. So for instance, when I was doing some general information about how well masks work when we are dealing with viruses as a whole, I came across this article. So notice that this is from back in 2007. This is before coronavirus was even on the map anywhere. But we were always sort of preparing for the next great pandemic. So that they've been thinking for years that a new influenza pandemic might arise. So some folks have been occasionally keeping track of or researching masks and how they work with viruses. This is really useful because the argument around masks tends to center on, well, masks don't protect against coronavirus, or masks do protect against coronavirus. And so it's helpful to remove this coronavirus from the equation and just look at viruses and masking in general. And then later on, we can sort of add back the coronavirus, and you'll see how that works in the paper itself. But for now, we're mostly interested in figuring out why and how masks work. So if we're glancing through this, we find things like social distancing, which we're familiar with. Hand washing won't help protect people from inhaling droplets or aerosols. Now, we've heard these words a lot. These are keywords in the discussion of cloth masks. So this is really important to write down. Essentially, it turns out that droplets are, when we're talking, if we say, a consonant really hard, or maybe if we sneeze or if we cough, they're larger drops of spit that may contain virus particles. Aerosols are, let's say you go outside on a cold day and you breathe out and you can see the mist of your breath, right? Those are aerosol particles. So droplets and aerosols are a big part of understanding how viruses are transmitted, certain viruses. And these are the things that masks are hoping to guard against, okay? So then we say it'll help keep people from getting or passing along the flu via doorknobs, elevator buttons, telephones, and the like. Objects that can transmit a disease are called fomites. This is really important because fomites shows up in a lot of the research about masks. Fomites are generally surfaces. So it can be something like a desk or a doorknob or a door. It can also be something like your phone case or your mask itself. Your mask is a surface, and so if somebody touches their mask and then touches something else, we need to find out whether or how commonly this particular virus might be transmitted by touching a fomite. this, and it turns out, is called fomite transmission, and is a useful keyword to write down. So then you'll notice that we have, again, droplet transmission, aerosol transmission. These are terms that we run into. Okay, so I found 3 or 4 terms in this article that are going to be useful to me. So if I come over here into my glossary, here they are: aerosol transmission, fomite transmission, droplet transmission. So what I might do here is say touching surfaces, whether counters or masks themselves, containing viruses. Okay, so if we sneeze or we cough and those droplets settle on that surface, then that becomes a fomite that can transmit the virus from one place to the next if we touch it. Okay, fit testing is another important keyword that has come up. Basically, it just means determining how well the mask fits. These are other bits and pieces that I have found, and you'll notice that for these ones, I actually noted which author they came from. I'm finding them again in other sources, and so I can come back here to my glossary, I can look at my definition, and I say, okay, yes, I know exactly what that person is talking about. When you're reading scientific studies or articles, they tend not to define those keywords for you because they're writing for other experts in the field. They just expect those experts to know what those things mean. So it's your responsibility as the author to become your own sort of expert on the topic and keep track of those keywords, keep track of what they mean, and then if you incorporate those into your own essay, or if you use quotes that end up using those terms in your own essay, you have both the opportunity and the responsibility of explaining those terms to your reader in such a way that they can understand in good, clear, clean, plain language. Remember that writing a research paper is teaching yourself and then teaching other people what you have learned about this topic. So as best as you can, practice throughout this process explaining terms and relationships of information as you understand them. That's going to make it easier for you to explain these things to your readership and easier for you to understand new concepts and ideas that you come across.